So I recently came across a very nice indicator about the advancing decline charts from Matt right here on YouTube. And I figured, well, we can just recreate that pretty easily. Since I like the indicator so much, I'm going to show you guys how to code this for yourself. So for starters, if you're learning to code on ThinkScript, there's a nice little guide right here on Thinkorswim that will essentially get you started and show you any kind of things you might need help with. It's also a nice guide for reference in case you get stuck. So let's jump right in. So to start off with, I have the completed indicator right here, and you can see the advancing decline lines up pretty much exactly with my indicator. So what this does is it lets you keep this as a reference for whatever underlying you might be looking at. So right now I have advancing decline, but if I go to say Tesla, for example, I can see this as a reference. Okay, now in the video he used SPY, which you can see right here. The advancing decline shows a low of negative 2202 that coincides with the bottom of the SPY right here on Wednesday. Okay, so I just found out there was a bunch of really annoying noise early on in the video. Hopefully I fixed it. From now on, the video should be at least slightly better sound quality. So let's just jump right into the coding. What I'm going to be using is this one right here with this crazy name, just a bunch of A's, just so I can have it at the top of the list. But this is what we're going to be using for reference, so you can keep your eye on that, so you can see where I'm writing all my code. And that's going to be right here. It's this blue line. This is what we're going to be adjusting, okay? So we're just going to go right into edits. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we need to get the advancing decline as a symbol, so that we can use it to compare to other underlyings. Otherwise, we just won't be able to get that information to carry over. So the easiest way to do it is just have it as an input symbol and then just type in advancing decline in quotation marks. This will let you carry over that information to other symbols that you might be looking at. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a symbol F just to differentiate it from everything else, because we're going to be plotting. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave this one a symbol. That's going to be fine. You just want to make sure that you keep your variables separated, okay? That's going to make your life a lot easier. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're just going to plot symbol. I'm going to give it a different name here just so I can keep my variables separated. And what we want to get is the closing price for our symbol. My typing is terrible. So we just want to get the closing price, since that's the only thing we're really going to be looking at. Okay, so let's just go ahead and apply this and see what it looks like. All right, so that's pretty much straightforward. It looks exactly the same. However, now that we've done this, we should be able to go over to, say, Tesla. If I can get it to load, and the information is still going to be there. It's going to be the exact same thing. So we've pretty much laid the groundwork for our indicator, and if you really want to, you can stop right there. Everything beyond this point is just adding a little bit of flavor to it, making it look nice and pretty. But if you just want bare bones indicator, there you go. That's all you need to do. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into my code here. We're going to add a little bit of something to just make it look a little nicer and prettier. All right, so I like to just use a couple of hash marks just to separate everything. And we're going to plot a 0 line. So that's going to be at 0, of course. There we go. So that line looks kind of ugly. All right, so I'm just going to put 0 line dot, let's see, set default color. And I want the color to be something that doesn't stick out too much, so we're going to make it gray. Okay, so that still looks kind of annoying. It's just this one really big line there. So what else can we do? Well, we can also set the drawing style. So I'm gonna put 0 line, and let's do a short dash. Let's see how that looks. All right, there we go. So that looks much better. And right off the bat, we can very easily identify where the 0 line is. So this is what we're going to be using for uh, the middle of our chart here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to identify which areas of the chart are going to be bullish and which areas are going to be bearish. Okay. So, according to Matt, since there's 2,800 plus or minus as far as the maximum that this could go, we're going to set a couple of levels around 1,000, and I'm going to use the 1,000 and 1,500 marks. So that'll be positive and negative either direction, and that's going to tell us which way the general market is going to be going on any particular day. So we're going to start off with the bullish areas, and what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm actually going to go a little bit of a different route here, and what I'm going to do is plot, let's see, 1,500 instead of 1,000, and for bear, I'm going to do negative 1,500. There we go. So I've got my 2 line right there. Now you could leave these plotted, or you could set them to define if you want to hide these lines, or you can even set the lines to be invisible. You can do whatever you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these values here. I'm going to separate them because I don't want things getting mixed up. Just apply. I'm going to take these variables. Let's see, bull and bear. And I'm going to add a little bit of a style just to make everything look good. Okay. So that's already looking much nicer. Next, what I'm going to do is I want the top part of this line to be the bullish area and the bottom to be the bearish area. Now the bearish and bullish are going to be at the 1,000 mark. Okay, so you see these, you've got these little bubbles here that I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tick these off. I also don't need the 0 line. The only thing I'm really interested in is the symbol F right here. So I'm just going to leave everything showing for that and hide everything else, because I want to be able to see this value wherever it is. Okay, so in order to get the top and bottom to show a particular color, what you're going to do is you're going to create a cloud. I'm just going to separate it here, mark it. Now we're going to use add cloud, put everything else in parentheses, and I'm going to use the initial value for 1,000 to double positive infinity. Make sure there's an underscore here. And I'm going to color it as uptick, not upstick, sorry about that. And color dark green. Let's see, it looks like I've made a mistake here. Add cloud 1,000 to double positive infinity. Oh, that's weird. That should be right. Okay, looks like I had a typo in there somewhere. Not going to worry too much about that. Anyway, so essentially what this does, oops, that's going to be 1,000. My typing is just really bad today. Okay, so essentially what this does is from 1,000 to a double, which is a number, double positive infinity, this is just going to color everything from that value above green. Okay. And you could set this to whatever color you want. So for this case, it'll be anything below 1,000 is going to have specific color. Of course, we're not going below 1,000. So this right here is pretty much irrelevant. The second color is the one that you're going to be looking at. For my preference, I'm going to set it to dark green just because it's a little easier to see the overlaid color if I put this as a darker color. Okay, and for this, pretty much going to be the exact same thing, but it's going to be negative 1,000. And in this case, it should be the first color. Oops, double negative infinity for the second one. There we go. So for the second one, we're going to go negative 1,000 up to or down to negative infinity. And the first color is the one that's going to take over. I don't like that orange. Hang on a second. Let's do dark red. Okay, that looks much better. That's pretty much it. This is a very simple indicator. If you want, we could also do, let's say the value crosses a certain point. So we can go and add a bubble right here. So let's say the symbol or the value crosses below negative 2,000 or whatever value you want. In my case, I'm going to put negative 2,000. You want the text R to show at the negative 500 value. I put this as negative 500 and not 2,000 or 2,500 or whatever you might want, just because I want it to fit in my chart. And then set your color. Now, what happens if you set it to a value that is too high? I'm going to show you right now. So let's say if we put it at 2,500, oh, look at that, it's missing. So the only way around that is you would have to then change the settings on your chart right here to fit studies and study markers. That would allow everything to fit, but I don't like that because it compresses my chart too much, so I just like to leave that off. That is up to you if you want that setting and if you want it to stick to any higher values you might set without the bubble going off the screen. So then the next thing we've got is this blue line here. Doesn't really tell us a whole lot. Kind of want to change the color on this thing. So what we can do is we can go and assign a value to this. Now this value is going to follow a logic. So we're going to have to use some ifs, ands. All right. So let me break this down for you. Symbol F, assign value color. And we're just going to follow the entire logic loop right here so that you can see exactly what's going on. But this is what we're going to be using. Symbol.assign value color. Everything else inside of it is just, it just tells the system check, if it's between so and so, then color it orange. Else, if it's greater than 1,000, color it green. Or if it's below 1,000, then color it light red. If none of these are met, then just color it gray. So once we apply that, we get our color values. And that's pretty much it. That's all there is to it. So we've got a fully working indicator right there. And just to make it a little easy for you, when it crosses below a certain value, the line changes color so that you can immediately identify which points on the graph are the lows of the day or week or whatever you're looking at. And we've got some reversal bubbles if you want them. If not, you can just go back into your code. Oops, getting a little bit of lag. You can just go back into your code and look for the bubbles. What I do is I just add a hash mark on top of them, and that's it. There you go. You just commented out the bubbles, and they no longer show on your chart. That's it. We're done. If you want to go a little further, you can also take this and use it as a label. So this is what that looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the first one. So what I decided was the most effective and reduce clutter as much as possible is I just added a little label that tells me what the advancing decline is doing, what color it is, and what value it is. So this is pretty simple. Essentially, if it hits a certain value, the color of this box will change. That's pretty much all there is to it. The code is right here if you just want to copy and paste it. I will probably just put this in the description or write a comment with this code. Or if you want, you can just pause the video and write the code yourself. Okay, but this essentially follows the same logic as the assigned value color that we used for the previous indicator that we created. And all this does is just checks if this meets a certain criteria, and it'll spit out the color. But that's pretty much it. Good luck. Hope you enjoy it and have fun.